Hello there, my name is Scott Fardulis, and I'm so glad that you took the time to fill in that information on the right side of your screen. And obviously, if you're like me, you are so excited about what you just heard from the Dave and Barb Pitcock story. You know, there's a lot of people out there that want to know, how do you do that? How do you go from having their background and their experiences and their struggles and their trials to really living the life of someone that has a big dream? And I think it's simple. You know, the first thing that we all have to do is we have to recognize where are we currently in life. So I'm going to kind of turn to the whiteboard here for a second and just say that the first thing that Dave and Barb Pitcock had to do was take an evaluation on their life and say, this is where we are today. So I'm going to make a dot here, and this dot represents here. This is where you are today. One thing that I know that every single person has in common is the innate desire to control three things about their life. One of them is their time. Every single person wants to have control over their time, to where they're in control of their schedule instead of their schedule controlling them. How many times do we say, I don't have time to go to the kids' game tonight. I don't have time to be with friends this weekend. I don't have time to go to the ball game after I get off work today. I'm just too busy. I'm overscheduled. Well, how about this? Feeling good. You know, it wasn't until about a year and a half ago that I realized one thing that's true. Unless you feel good, nothing else matters. Unless you feel good, nothing else matters. So we all desire to feel as good as possible and live quality of life as long into our life as we possibly can. The third thing that we have in common is the desire to absolutely be in control of our finances. So many times today, we are robbing Peter to pay Paul, and we're always just less in terms of our earnings for the month than we need to be. And so I learned a long time ago, here's my definition of wealth. Wealth is having a little bit more than you need so that you're totally stress-free. And broke is having just a little bit less than what you need, and you always feel like you're playing catch-up. And so you see, the difference between being broke and being wealthy is just a little bit. So those three things: control of your time, control of your health, and control of your money. That's what Dave and Barb Pitcock were after, and they were on a journey to go from here to there. What's really important is that we define, what does there look like for you? And you see, the answer to that question is your dream. It's your dream, it's not my dream. It's your dream that determines what there looks like for you. So let's just have a little bit of fun for a second if we could. Let's pretend like we're kids again. The reason I come back to being a kid is because when we're kids, we have this unbelievable dream scope. Everything's possible, nothing's impossible, and reality hasn't set in for most people, and no one's come along and burst your bubble and said, oh, that's a pipe dream, or that's never going to work out. Haven't you figured out that there's this thing called reality? And the day that happens is a pretty sad day. Let's pretend like that hasn't happened to any of us yet, and let's just talk about dreams for a moment. I'm going to draw a circle on this board, and this circle represents something really large for you, and you can put anything inside of that bubble that you want to that represents your dream. So obviously, let's just pretend like we're able to communicate right now, and let's start throwing some things up here. If you're like me, I know that we dream about things like quality time, quality time with your family, your friends, and your loved ones. How about travel? You ever dreamed of traveling? Maybe your desire is to take a cruise, and you'd like to go explore the Caribbean, you'd like to sail around the world, maybe even have your own private yacht with some maids and some butlers, people to cook your food and just cater to you for a few weeks while you go island hopping. That would be a pretty cool dream. Maybe your dream is to own a ranch. And on that ranch, you'd have some horses, you'd have a white picket fence surrounding maybe 30, 40, 50 acres. Maybe it's in the mountains, maybe it's out on the plains. It's just fun to think outside the box, isn't it? Maybe your goal is to own a big diesel truck. And this diesel truck is able to pull a fifth wheel, or some kind of a trailer or a camper, or maybe quads or motorcycles, and you can put your family and your kids inside of there, and you can hit the road, and you can do school on the road and just give your kids and your family the best education that you normally only see from picture books taking a geography class in school. And so maybe that diesel truck represents freedom. Maybe you're a pilot, a private pilot, and you've always dreamed of owning your own airplane. And this airplane would allow you to travel from one property to the other. So maybe you have multiple homes. If you have multiple homes, maybe you've got one out on the flatlands because that's where your ranch is at with that big diesel truck. Maybe you've got one up in the mountains with a ski-in and ski-out accommodations at your favorite ski resort, and you can go up there on holidays or maybe get away on the weekends. Or maybe your dream is to own a piece of property or real estate out on the beach where you can go to bed every night and you can just hear the sound of the tide coming in and the waves crashing underneath your home. And in the daytime, you get to go out and take nice morning walks on the beach and hold hands with your favorite person in the whole world and just build sandcastles and feel the morning breeze coming off the ocean. Maybe that's your dream. And so you see what's great about this is that you can put anything inside of here that you want to. Some of you have a phenomenal desire to contribute to charities. Maybe you dream of helping, people with addictions. Maybe you want to help abused and battered women and operate some shelters. Maybe you want to rescue kids from human trafficking and sex slavery. I don't know. Maybe it's your favorite church that you just want to engage in. There's all kinds of things that we can do by filling this in, and it's called a dream. The great news about it is that we all have the ability to think like this. Here's the challenge. The challenge is that somewhere along the road, as we've gotten older, we've gone from thinking this big to condensing and shrinking down our dream to match our income. So this little circle over here represents a salary. And I don't know what a typical salary is in your geographic location or your neck of the woods. I would tend to say that a way above average salary is probably $80,000 a year. I think we could all agree that $80,000 a year would be an above average salary. Here's what I know. Whether this number is $30,000 a year or $50,000 a year or $80,000 a year or even $100,000 a year, I've learned that most people are broke at a different socioeconomic status. And so when you think about the majority of people having this kind of a dream and settling for reality, I'm going to write that word on the board. Reality is that 97% of our population settles. And I'm going to write that word on the board too. We settle for going the comfortable route. We settle for having the sure thing. We settle for living our life inside of a box. And it's interesting that about 3% of our population thinks exactly the opposite. You see, it takes just as much energy to take your dream and shrink it down to match your income as it does to take your income and increase it to match your dream. Now, isn't that ironic? It takes just the same amount of energy. So why is it, and it's one of those things that just kind of makes you scratch your head and go, when you think about this scenario. I'm going to draw another picture for you, because if you're like me, you love to see things visually. And let's talk for a second about leverage. See, leverage is a really key component to understanding how to get control of your time and your health and your money. And it goes like this. If we think about a regular work schedule, most people are looking for full-time work. Why? Because it's about what you can fit into your week. And we all want to work at least 40 hours a week so we can get full-time pay and max out what we call trading hours for dollars. The most incredible commodity or asset that any of us own in our life is time. And it's really ironic that most of us are willing to give up so much of that asset and so much of that commodity, this thing called time, in exchange for pay. Well, if you think about a work schedule, here's the question I'm going to ask you. If you work 20 hours a week, how many hours do you get paid for? And of course, it's not a trick question. The answer is 20. So if you work 20 hours a week, you're going to get paid for 20 hours of work. And you say, you know what, that's not enough. I need more income. And so we go from part-time to full-time. And if you work 40 hours a week, how much do you get paid for? And the answer would be 40. And here's what happens. So many times we start getting behind the 8 ball, somewhere we picked up some debt, somewhere we end up owing some money, and it's outside of our budget, it's outside of our scope, so we realize that we've either got to borrow more money, we've got to take out a loan from the bank, put something on credit cards, which all equals debt. And so if we don't want to do that, we have to give up more time. And there are actually people, and I have plenty of friends, that work as many as 60 hours a week or more, and so they've given up more of that precious commodity called time, and they might get paid for 60 hours of work, or they might be on salary and they're working 60 hours and still getting paid for 40. Well, there's a couple of different business models that I'm going to propose to you today, and I know I'm a business major and I went to school and I have a degree in business, and ironically there's a few things that I was never taught while attending business school. Here's one of them. There's actually 2 different business models that exist. And I'm going to share those business models with you. And I think we can all agree that every single business is in the shape of something called a triangle or a structure that looks like this. Okay? So when you think about this structure, there's 2 options. You can either be somewhere inside, you might be here, you might be here, you might be here, you might be here. It doesn't matter where you are. You exist inside of somebody else's dream. This is their dream, it's their company, and they usually sit here at the top as the CEO, the president, the operator, the decision maker, and these people have all bought into that person's dream, and to help that person get their dream, they're willing to take your time in exchange for pay. So what does that leave you? This leaves you with a set or stagnant income. This leaves you with a set or stagnant income, and it's usually pretty risk-free, and yet there's another business model that most of us aren't taught. Remember that dream scope, and I said that most people shrink their dream to match their income, and only about 3% of the people increase their income to match their dream? Here's what they've decided to do. There's a second structure, and it looks like this. And instead of you being here, operating inside of someone else's dream scope, you get to operate at the top of your own. And it looks like this. In this picture, this is you, and you get to build a team of people as big as you want them to be. And in this scenario, as this is all getting filled in, your income is actually increasing and residual. So your income is increasing and residual in this type of a structure, and here's what we know. When you look at all the successful people that have existed or walked this planet before us, we can fill in all kinds of names over here. People like J. Paul Getty, Henry Ford, Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, and the list goes on. It's a really long list of people that all thought just like this. So fundamental question, do you want to work inside of somebody else's company, building their dream with a set or stagnant income, or do you want to be at the top of your own company, building something for your future where many hands make light work? So here's the first question I want to pose to you. Can you imagine earning a small percentage off of 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 people, any number? Can you imagine making a smaller percentage of a whole bunch of hands, or would you rather make 100% of your own efforts? In other words, J. Paul Getty said it best. There's a book called Think and Grow Rich. I highly recommend it if you haven't ever picked up a copy. Read that book. It's Napoleon Hill's interview of many successful people, and it was all summed up best by J. Paul Getty. He said, quote, "I would rather have 1% of 100 people's efforts than 100% of my own efforts." And so when you think about that for just a quick second, you'll realize there was only one option for him to pick, and it was over here. And you know, when you see successful people, sometimes we hear things like, oh, they're so lucky. They just were in the right place at the right time. Wish I could have been them. Well, you know, it's a decision. It's a fundamental decision. And by making that decision, you can actually put yourself in a position to have the same success path as other great people have gone before you. So, on that note, let's come back for just a second and think about a really powerful word called leverage. So let's write that down for just a second. Leverage. I'm not sure if leverage is with an E or an A, so I just put an E there. You can check my spelling later. So the word is leverage. So here's the point. Remember we said it's better to make 1% of 100 people's efforts than 100% of your own? And what if you could make a little bit off of a whole bunch? So here's the thought. Let's just say that you were able to take 5 hours out of your schedule, part-time. Okay, so think about what you already do. Maybe you're in construction, maybe you're an accountant, maybe you're an attorney, maybe you're a doctor, maybe you drive a backhoe for a living, maybe you're a teacher and you teach ESL to foreign students. Whatever it is that you do, think about you doing the best job you can there and part-time taking on 5 additional hours a week. 5. So all by yourself, if you put in an effort for 5 hours a week, how many are you going to get paid? You're going to get paid 5 hours. Well, let's just say that unlike any other company, not unlike any other company, we're going to go find 4 people. So we're going to use the number 4. We're going to find 4 people that think the way you do about time, health, and their finances. They all want improvements in these areas. And so the good news is we have a solution for that, and I'm going to dive into that in just a second. I just want to point out how simple it is when you think about time, health, and money, and that we're surrounded by people that always want more of any or all of those 3 things, that it's really simple to conceive 4 people that want to be part of what you're doing. So if we had 4 people that all were contributing 5 hours plus your 5, that would be now 5 people at 5 hours a week. That would equal the equivalent of 25 man hours. 25 hours. Let's take it a step further. What if you had 25 people at 5 hours a week? Well, 25 times 5, that would equal 125 man hours a week. So do you see the point here? We can put any number we want to over here. Let's take it one step further. Let's say that we had 100 people at 5 hours a week. 100 people at 5 hours a week, that would be the equivalent of 500 man hours that you could be compensated for. Is it possible for any of us personally, you or me, to work 500 hours in a week? Of course it's not. That number of hours doesn't even exist. So it's totally out of the question. And this is what successful people do. They leverage many people doing a little bit for the sake of getting a little bit out of a lot. That's the fundamental theory here. So let's do this. Now that you understand the concept of leverage and how powerful that is, here's our business model. And this is what Dave and Barb Pitcock have totally focused on, that's allowed them to go from where you saw them in their story to where they are today, in total control of their time, have incredible health for their family, and they have extraordinary, unlimited income potential in the form of a residual cash flow basis. That's pretty powerful. And I know that's exactly what you're looking for inside of your household as well. So, there's a gentleman by the name of Dr. Joel Wallach. And I'm going to hold this box up here so you can see this. Dr. Joel Wallach is a veterinarian by trade. He's 74 years old today. He has spent about 50 years of his life researching all the diseases and all the ailments of exotic animals. Some of you are even old enough to remember a television program called Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom. I know that back in the 70s and 80s, as a kid, that was one of my favorite shows. I used to tune in those rabbit ears every week, and I'd love to listen to Dr. Wallach bring nature right into our living room, and it was fascinating. Whether he was talking about elephants or rhinos or lions or tigers or snakes or wild boars, it was always interesting information. And to have that brought into your family room, to pick up that information, I mean, guys, you used to have to only read about that in papers or look at National Geographic, and it was fascinating every week. There was Marlon Perkins, he was kind of the face guy, and there was Dr. Wallach in the background, and he was the one that was providing all the medical documentation and research. What most people don't realize, that show was not just built for entertainment purposes. Deep down inside Dr. Wallach, having grown up on a farm and always having animals around and being fascinated by what makes them tick, that show was the perfect platform to him to take his passion to another level. You see, Dr. Wallach, over the last several decades, 30,000 animal autopsies, about 6,000 human autopsies, here's what he discovered. There are 90 essential nutrients that every single person needs every day of their life for the rest of their life. Those 90 essential nutrients have been put into this box. We call it 90 for life. Our company is Youngevity. We're based out of Southern California in a little town called Chula Vista on the south side of San Diego. And 90 for life being the motto of our company, it has saved an uncountable number of lives in all kinds of ways. Giving, mostly, here's the point, we're giving people back their hope on how they feel. There's a lot of reasons why people don't feel good today. We're giving people hope about controlling their time. We're certainly giving people hope about controlling their money. And we're absolutely giving people hope on controlling their health. And 90 for life is where it all began. See, let's just put it this way. Imagine that every day of life you're going around and you've got this invisible shield or chink of armor around you, and it's made up of 90 individual plates. And when we don't get those 90 essential nutrients, imagine that those plates are falling off the shield and now you have a hole or a chink in your armor. And so when you think about the top diseases now that are taking people's lives, I mean, we've got heart disease, we've got cancer, we've got stroke, respiratory disease, Alzheimer's, and diabetes. Those are the top 6 killers on our planet. And when Dr. Wallach has eliminated over 900 diseases from the exotic animal world and written a book called The Diseases of Exotic Animals, and OPS, by the way, that book, just in case you're wondering, it's on the library shelf in the Smithsonian Institute because of its credible factors. He wrote a book called Dead Doctors Don't Lie. That book, along with an abridged version in a CD copy called Dead Doctors Don't Lie, it's now sold somewhere around about 200 million copies, making it one of the most productive and influential excerpts or books sold in the market today. That's Dr. Wallach. That's his background. You couple that research that he's done and the science that he's put out there, and I'm going to share a couple more things with you. Linus Pauling. Dr. Linus Pauling, he's a 2-time Nobel Prize winner. He was famous for one of his Nobel Prizes where he showed that every disease and every ailment is linked to a mineral deficiency. Every disease and every ailment is linked to a mineral deficiency. So when you couple that with Dr. Wallach's 90 for life message, the fact that we need 90 essential nutrients every day of our life, here's the thing. In 1936, the U.S. Senate came out with a report that showed that no longer do our U.S. soils contain the nutrients and the minerals necessary for healthy food production. Well, that was a long time ago. How is it today if a report like that came out that long ago? And so I know people say, well, I go to Whole Foods Market and I go to Vitamin Cottage and I go to Sprouts. I only buy organic. Listen, guys, organic and all of that healthy food purchasing that we do, it's only as good as the soil that something was grown in. And so here's the point. If it's not in the soil, then it's not in the plants for us vegetarians, and it's not in the meats that we eat for us carnivores, and if it's not in our fruits and our vegetables, and it's not inside of our meats that we eat, then it's not in you, and it's not in me. So that's why the 90 for life message is so powerful, because this is something that people need every day of their lives. Whether we're tall, we're short, we're old, we're young, we're educated, we're uneducated, it doesn't matter what our background is. This is just a fact of life. So we take that message, that crusade, and we've built a business model right now that is exploding literally all over the world. Let me give you a definition for, us deeper thinkers and our cerebral analytical types. Youngevity in the last year has grown somewhere around about 350%. This is extraordinary. This is something you can go look up for yourself. We're a publicly traded company, and our ticker symbol is JCOF. JCOF is our ticker symbol. Go look for yourself and just look at what's happening to our stock in the last short period of time. It's really remarkable. Well, let me ask you this. Think right now about any number of businesses that maybe you've started in the past, or you know that someone else has started in the past. This could be a home-based business, it could be a landscaping business, a sewing business, a dry cleaning business, it could be a restaurant, it could be a franchise, it could be a construction company, it could be a bookkeeping service. All of these businesses, they cost big time money. I recently met with some friends of mine, and we were kind of going around the room, and every single person was an entrepreneur, and they were being polled, how much did your company cost to start? And here's what we found out. Some of these business start up costs. We've got business startup costs. Here's what we found out. The least expensive business that we had in that particular circle was about $10,000. So we had about $10,000 for a really tiny small business where a little bit of inventory was needed and not a lot of overhead. We had businesses like franchises. One guy had just bought a franchise for $1.6 million. So that was the other extreme. We had $1.6 million as a startup cost. Here's the point. Whether you were on one end of the pendulum with a startup of $10,000, or you were on the other side of the pendulum with a startup of $1.6 million, there's still a very relevant question that has to be asked. Are you the first one there and the last one to leave? Or did you say, you know what, I just leveraged myself to the hilt. I put every dime I had into this company personally. Not only that, I put my credibility, my name, and my reputation on the line. Maybe even you went to the bank and you borrowed money leveraging all of your credit with your assets as collateral. Maybe you went to various friends or family members and you leveraged your credibility and your good name there, and everybody said, yeah, I'll back you on this. No matter the cost, there is a fee associated with doing that. It's either interest to a bank or interest to friends and family. Everybody wants to get their money back. True? Absolutely, it's true. The first thing that anybody does when they put that kind of money on the line, whether it's 10 or 1.6 million, you want to get your money back. Here's the point. That can take many months, and in most cases it takes several years before you're able to get into the black and be operating in a profitable mode. Meanwhile, here's another really important thing. Are you the first person to get paid or the last person to get paid in that particular scenario? I would propose to you that you're the last person to get paid, because we need employees, we need to pay electricity, we've got phone bills, we've got services that need to be done for your businesses. All of those things take money, and the first people to get paid are everybody that makes this engine move. And the day that it happens that you have extra laying around, then and maybe only then do you say, oh, it's about time, I can pull some money from this. That's how most entrepreneurial business scenarios work. Here's what's phenomenal. I'm going to share our model with you right now and show you all of the benefits that we have that pale in comparison as to that model and why people go down that path. So track with me on this for a second. Again, unlike any other business, this is the structure. Okay? Here's you. I don't know. Certainly I don't. Maybe you have a little bit of hair. So here's you. And you've got a couple of choices here. So remember how powerful that 90 for Life program was that I just told you about? That's the foundation of our company. Imagine that I'm making the circle. This is the inside of the flower, the part that smells really good. You've got all these flower petals that surround the center of the flower, and this represents everything else about Youngevity. And believe me, we've got plenty of stuff to talk about. Let's just keep it really simple and talk about that 90 for Life program right there. If you're looking to just feel good and you want the best products with the best science and the best research that anything can be created from with Dr. Wallach, we've got it. If this business is about you being part-time and supplementing your income, we can supply that for you as well, that whole platform. If you're saying, hey, you know what, I've got the Popeye syndrome and I'm just sick and tired of being sick and tired, and I've had all I can stands and I can absolutely stands no more. If you're the Popeye syndrome like I was when we got started in this industry over 20 years ago, then you're going to love what I'm about ready to share with you. Two paths that you can take. Number one, you can put yourself into our company for a $10 bill, and you have the ability forever to obtain all of our products at wholesale. And that's your benefit. You can refer people to the company with a $10 bill. You can get paid some commissions, not big commissions. You can get paid some commissions for a $10 bill and have a blast talking to some friends and telling your story about how you've gone from here to there from a health standpoint and knock yourself out. That's a great option. If you want an extraordinary option, something that's going to change your bloodline, it has the potential to alter your future circumstances financially and owning your time, then you want to pay really close attention to option B. Option B with you is that you get started with our company for $500. And you order what's called a CEO pack. Okay, first of all, notice this. Isn't it refreshing that we're talking about $500 as opposed to something extreme like what we wrote over here on this side of the board? We're talking about $500. What do you get for $500? You're not just putting money into a company. This is not an investment. This is about you realizing that our company is based on that 90 for life message. The first thing you want to do is be a product of the product. You want to be on the 90 for life program. There's 3 products that make that up, and every day of your life you want to take those products. And so with the CEO pack, this is what comes in that pack. You get over $500 worth of product at wholesale for $500. And in there you get 2 healthy start packs, which is this box right here. You get 2 healthy start packs. You get a 30-day count of some of our top selling products that come in these little individual sized tubes. These are tubes that you can hand to people and say, hey, you know what? People that have drank this or eaten this or put this on themselves, they're feeling better. That's the news that's coming in. And when you ask people to use our products and you can give out samples, samples are a really important thing when it comes to business. So put yourself in a position to get out of the gate quickly, to build our business right, copy what other successful people have done so you can get what they've got. Actually, I just made a statement there and caught myself. That's one of my favorite statements in the whole world. Find somebody that has what you want out of life. Mentor for them, shadow them, copy them, do what they do, and you'll get what they have. See, this isn't about luck. It's not about chance. And it's not about you being in the right place at the right time per se. It's about having information and taking action on it, and then that action can equal a result. That's what this is about. So here you are with a CEO pack for $500, and our objective right now is to surround you with a team of people so that you can get your money back. Remember what we said over here? These people want nothing more than to get their money back. Our objective is to help you get your money back. How do we do that? Well, remember this thing called time, health, and money? 4 people. We're not talking about 10 or 50 or 100. We're talking about 4. And when we are working with 4 individuals, in corporate America, these might be your VPs. In our organization, and by the way, this industry called network marketing, it is one of the biggest and fastest growing pieces of our economy. There are people all over the world that are just totally ecstatic about what the network marketing industry has done for them. So these 4 people right here, what are we going to do? We're going to help you get your $500 back. We're going to help them get started in business so they can create a residual and ongoing cash flow. And when they order their CEO packs, here's what's happening. You're earning $125 per person. So 4 CEO packs, helping 4 people discover their dream and what they're excited about. Why will they do this? Because their dream absolutely demands that they do it. See, if they don't do what we're talking about, then they will stay in that black circle we defined earlier that says you are here. They will continue to be here instead of growing to there. So we help you get your money back. We have 4 people that you're going to work with indefinitely moving forward. And now that they're engaged, what is it that they want to do? They've just ordered a CEO pack for $500 as well. What do they want to do? They want to get their money back as well, just like you did. How do they do that? By 4 people. So we're going to go with this person right here, and we're going to help them get 4 people. Same thing. All 4 of these people have a CEO pack, and this person will earn $125 from each of those individuals. 4 times 125 is $500. They have their money back. One more time. These 4 people times 4 people, that's 16 people, by the way. We started with 4. 4 getting 4 is 16. And then we have 16 people here that all want to get their money back as well. And so we help them do that. We surround them with 4 people, just like that. And we just help this person get their money back as well. Now we have 64 people. When we take 4 plus 16 plus 64, we have 84 individuals that are part of your organization. And for this simple theoretical example, we're just going to stop there. Because I'm here to tell you that this 4 turns into 84, that turns into hundreds of people, that turns into thousands of people, all because we develop a dream that's hidden inside of every single person, and we show them how to use the 90 for Life message, take the best products in the world to help them get control of their health, and go out and share that message with as many people as possible. Just 4. 4 individuals is all. That work with 4, that work with 4, that leads you to 84. Here's the good news. Let's answer this question. Why is it that you would want to have a CEO pack? I'm going to give you 4 reasons why that would make a lot of sense. Number 1 is for stock options. By having stock options, this is where you're rank advancing through the company. Youngevity will provide you stock options. And I'm not talking about a couple. We're talking about ultimately thousands and tens of thousands of stock options. You see, a stock option is extremely valuable because you get them at today's price for the stock. Let's use a theoretical example. If you were getting stock for, say, 30 cents, and in the future, 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now, let's say that that stock potentially increased to 3, 4, let's just call it $5 and have some fun. So from 30 cents to $5, and you had those shares today, let's say that today you had 50,000 shares of stock. 50,000 at 30 cents, that would be $15,000. That would be the price that you could exercise your stock for, own your stock for at a future date and own for $15,000. Well, at that future date, if the stock is increased to, say, $5 a share and you've got 50,000 shares, that means that your stock is worth $250,000. Literally. You could buy your stock in the future for today's price of $15,000 in that simple theoretical example and be able to sell it tomorrow for $250,000. Would you give up $15,000 to take in $250,000? Absolutely. There's no question about it. That's the value of having stock options. You can have stock options when you have become what we call CEO qualified in the company. The second reason you'd want a CEO pack is because we have a car bonus. And the car bonus is one of the most exciting things because so many people are driving around vehicles that they have a payment on. And so this is part of what creates debt. And they make this payment over a period of time, and maybe something changes, and your credit isn't good enough to get another car in the future. Circumstances have changed, and we end up driving vehicles that are beyond their prime. My favorite thing is to help people in this company get into a position to where Youngevity is making your car payment. That's right. Our Silver Mercedes Club is activated by you having a CEO pack and setting yourself up for business and qualifying for our car bonus. And the first thing to do is to become CEO qualified. Over time, you'll have the car bonus, and Youngevity is literally making the payments for you, anywhere from $300 a month to $1,000 a month. You pick out the car, the model, the color, everything about it. You drive it home and let Youngevity every month make that payment for you. And that's what I call working smart instead of working hard. Car bonus. Third thing is what we call the coding bonus. The coding bonus is my very favorite because this is where you can create some incredible wealth for you and your family. Let me give you an example. we have a position in our company. It's called Senior Executive Marketing Director. This is a position where we've helped college kids. We're talking about 18, 19, and 20-year-old college kids at various universities hit this position in as little as 2 weeks. Now, if it takes you 2 weeks, great. If it takes you a month, that's great. And if it takes you 2 months, that's fine too. I'm just letting you know that kids are qualifying for this position, and if that's the case, there's no reason why anybody wouldn't be able to obtain this position as well, except for one. I'll tell you. Remember earlier I said the older you get, reality starts to set in, and that dream you used to have, it shrinks down really small? Well, they haven't gotten there yet. College-age kids are still big-time dreamers, and they haven't come to that place to where someone pops their bubble. And so they're qualifying for the car bonuses. They're getting the coding bonus. At Senior Executive Marketing Director, there's a $100 coding bonus. Now it goes from as little as $15 to as much as $190. So I'm going to use 100 for the simple theoretical example, and I just gave you the nutshell of how to qualify for that bonus. You're CEO qualified, you have achieved Senior Executive Marketing Director as a title in our company, and you're now going to receive the coding bonus. So at that position you get $100. Well, whether you introduce somebody to the team or not, or it was somebody else that introduced somebody to the team, they could be anywhere in your organization, as deep or as wide as your organization gets. And here's the good news. With a $100 code, again, you don't even know they exist. You might see them on a printout or have heard about them. Every time somebody joins your organization with a CEO pack, you're going to receive a code at Senior Executive Marketing Director for $100. So let's have some fun with this. If 10 people, and by the way, that bonus is paid weekly, so if you want quick cash, this is outstanding. If 10 people entered your team with CEO packs, then at a $100 code, you would make $1,000. Let's take it a step further. You don't know any of these people. They were somebody that somebody knew. They entered your team. Let's say that 100 people entered your team. At a $100 code, that would be $10,000. Now let's get wild and wacky, because this happens, and there's people in our company that this is happening to right now. Let's say that 1,000 people join your team in the next 30 days. And how, by the way, how does this happen? It's many hands equaling light work. That's how 1,000 people join your team. So 1,000 people enter your team, and 1,000 times 100 is $100,000. Now let me tell you, $100,000 for a month with a code, that would change some lives. And I'm sure you can see that whether it's 1,000, theoretically speaking, or 10,000, or ultimately someday 100,000, wherever you are in that, the coding bonus is huge. And when that's coming to you month after month after month, based on the size and scope of your team, you can probably see how your dream would be realized a whole lot faster with this system than this system or any other system that you can think of. There's a fourth reason. I'll share this with you. It's called the Global Revenue Sharing Pool. The Global Revenue Sharing Pool. CEO qualified. This is a percentage of total global sales for Youngevity. When you reach a position called Senior Vice Chairman Marketing Director with Youngevity, you participate in that pool. And no matter how big that percentage is of total global sales, you're one of those individuals that gets an extra bonus check that's divvied out amongst all the people that have the title of Senior Vice Chairman Marketing Director. Exciting stuff, guys. So, over and out. Again, my name is Scott Fardulis. I want to thank you for watching this video, and I appreciate the fact that you value yourself, your future, your time, your health, and your money, and even the person that asked you to watch this video. The person that spoke into your life and says, hey, you know what? I care about you. I believe in you, and until now, I didn't know what to do with information you've been sharing with me. And I'd like for you to meet some people that have a vested interest in your success. Maybe someone you know shared that message with you and they sent you to this landing page. Thanks for tuning in, and I want to ask you, please, get with the person that asked you to watch this system and know that whether it was the Dave and Barb Pitcock story that inspired you, or the friend that asked you to watch this, or the information you're now hearing related to how our business model actually works, the good news is that we have hope for you, and that's what's available. So if you're interested in knowing how to get started with our system, then on the right side of your screen there might be a box that you can check. And when you check that box, you're opting into receiving coaching and mentorship from the key leaders on our team that have been there and done that and accomplished it and have a huge following of individuals that are extremely successful. If you want to be one of those people and you want that kind of coaching and mentoring, then I encourage you to check that box right now, and we will upload another video for you that'll be 4 steps on how to get started quickly, effectively, and smoothly so that you can rock your business and get off on the right track. Have a fantastic day, and we'll see you at the top.